Ms. Whitfield, we need you to step out with us.
Is this the corporate thing? Because I already talked to the regional manager twice about this, and I don't really have any.
This is Latanya J. Whitfield, a front desk manager who turned 9 years of guest trust into a 3-year scheme targeting exhausted families on the worst possible weekend to be stranded. The system she used to run it logged every single move she made.
Anything
The flag log, 900 families, double booking going back to 2020. $1.6 million, your credentials on every single flag.
She would not be returning to work the next morning. By the time the detectives finished walking her out of the executive corridor at the Cresthaven beachfront resort, the property's general manager had already changed her credentials, deactivated her keycard, and rekeyed the back office door. 900 families. 3 years. $1,600,000 in cancellation fees, no-show penalties, and double-booked rooms. Every keystroke that built the scheme had been quietly logged by the same system she trusted to hide it. Before we go any further, I have to ask you something. Have you ever been turned away from a hotel after a long drive with your family in the car? Drop that story in the comments and let me know how it ended. And if you're not already subscribed, this is the channel where we hold these people accountable, week after week. Hit that subscribe button now, because the way this one unraveled is unlike anything I've covered in months. Latanya Janelle Whitfield was born in Pensacola, Florida, in the spring of 1981. Her father, Calvin Whitfield, drove long-haul routes for a regional freight carrier that ran the I-10 corridor between Mobile and Jacksonville. He was gone most weekdays and home most weekends, and the household ran on the rhythm of his returns. Her mother, Doreen, worked the cosmetics counter at a Gaffer's department store inside the Cordova Mall, then later at a Belk on North Davis Highway after the Gaffer's closed in the late 1990s. The family lived in a single-story ranch off Brent Lane, 3 bedrooms, beige carpet, a wood-paneled den, and a single bathroom that became a daily negotiation once Latanya and her younger brother Terrence hit middle school. Family vacations were rare and precisely budgeted. The Whitfields drove to Panama City Beach for 1 week in July of 1989, stayed at a roadside motor lodge on Front Beach Road, and that single trip would become the family reference point for vacations for the next 15 years. Latanya remembered, even as an adult, the exact name of the motel, the smell of the chlorine in the kidney-shaped pool, and the way her father counted out $20 bills at the front desk, and then again at the seafood restaurant that night. She remembered the front desk clerk, too, a woman with a name tag that read Sherry, who slid the room keys across the counter and told her she had pretty eyes. She graduated from Pensacola High School in 1999. She was a B student, played 1 season of junior varsity volleyball, sang in the chorus for 2 years, and worked weekends at a Winn-Dixie bagging groceries for $3.15 an hour above minimum. A school counselor's note in her file from her junior year described her as, quote, personable, organized, attentive to small details that other students overlook, end quote. The same counselor recommended she look into the hospitality program at Pensacola Junior College. She enrolled in the fall of 1999, completed 3 semesters, and dropped out in the spring of 2001 when her mother had a stroke and the household needed a second income that did not come from a textbook. Her first hotel job came that same spring. She was 19 years old, hired as a housekeeper at a Days Inn off Interstate 10 near the University Mall exit. Paid $6 an hour to clean 14 rooms per shift on a rolling cart with a radio clipped to her uniform. She lasted 8 months on the cart before the night auditor quit without notice on a Sunday, and the general manager, a man named Phil Rouse, asked her if she could count and if she could stay awake until 7 in the morning. She said yes to both. By the end of 2002, she was running the front desk 3 nights a week, balancing the cash drawer, posting credit card batches, and learning the first reservation system she would ever touch, a green-screen DOS-based property management platform that ran on a single beige Dell computer in the back office. She met Andre Whitfield in 2005 at a wedding reception held in the ballroom of a Holiday Inn on Pensacola Beach. He was the cousin of the bride, a corrections officer at Santa Rosa Correctional Institution, divorced once, no children. They married in October 2007 in a small ceremony at a chapel off Scenic Highway and moved the following spring to a stucco 3-bedroom in Cresthaven, a Gulf Coast tourist town an hour east of Pensacola, where Andre had transferred for a sergeant's posting. Their first child, Marcus, was born in 2009. Their daughter, Imani, followed in 2012. Latanya took a front desk position at a Hampton Inn just off the Cresthaven exit in 2008, 3 miles inland from the beach, and worked there for 6 years. Her performance reviews from that period are uniformly positive. One supervisor wrote that she had, quote, an unusual ability to read a guest's mood within the first 10 seconds and adjust accordingly, end quote. Another described her as, quote, the kind of front desk employee corporate sends to every new property opening because she will train the staff faster than the regional director can fly in, end quote. She was promoted to shift lead in 2010 and to assistant front office manager in 2012. Her salary climbed from $26,000 to $41,000 over those 6 years. In the summer of 2014, a recruiter for Sunhaven Hospitality Group reached out to her on a referral. Sunhaven owned and operated the Cresthaven Beachfront Resort, a 320-room oceanfront property on the south end of the town's main beach drive. The recruiter offered her a night audit supervisor position at $52,000 a year, with a path to assistant front desk manager within 18 months. She accepted. She started on the first Monday of August. She was 33 years old. She was promoted to assistant front desk manager in March 2016, exactly 19 months after her start date. She was promoted again to front desk manager in November 2017, after the previous manager retired to take care of her elderly mother in Tallahassee. The promotion came with a salary of $67,000, full medical, a discretionary bonus tied to occupancy and review scores, and direct authority over a department of 14 full-time and part-time employees. Her 2018 performance review, signed by the resort's general manager, Patrick Donahue, described her as, quote, the most reliable manager on this property, period, end quote. For 3 years, she ran a clean department. Guest satisfaction scores rose. Staff turnover dropped. Corporate flagged the Cresthaven property as a model for the region. And then, in the spring of 2020, with the country shutting down and reopening in jagged pulses, and the Florida coastline becoming the destination for every family in the southeastern United States that had not seen the outside of their house in 6 weeks, something inside Latanya Whitfield shifted. To understand what she did, you have to understand the system she worked inside. The Cresthaven Beachfront Resort had 320 guest rooms spread across 2 ocean-facing towers connected by a glass-walled lobby with a 40-foot ceiling, a saltwater pool deck, a beach bar, and 2 casual dining outlets. Peak occupancy weeks routinely sold out months in advance. Spring break, the 2nd and 3rd weeks of June, the 4th of July weekend, Labor Day weekend, the week between Christmas and New Year's, and any weekend within driving distance of a major Florida theme park school holiday. During those weeks, the average daily rate climbed from a shoulder season figure of around $170 a night to a peak season walk-up rate that could touch $450 for an ocean view king. The math of the property depended on those windows. Front desk discretion during those windows was where the property either made or lost its quarter. The property ran on a cloud-based property management system called InPath, a mid-market platform used across roughly 1,200 independent and chain hotels in North America. InPath did 3 things that matter to this story. First, it held the live room inventory count that synced every 15 minutes with every external booking channel the property used, including the chain's own central reservation system, Expedia, Booking.com, and the corporate rate portal used by business travelers. Second, it allowed front desk managers to apply a series of administrative flags to individual reservations, the most important of which was a status called tentative, pending verification. Third, every action taken inside the platform, every flag applied, every flag removed, every rate change, every room reassignment was logged with a timestamp and the user credential that performed it. The tentative, pending verification flag existed for a legitimate reason. When a guest's credit card was declined at the time of booking, or when a reservation came in from a third-party channel with mismatched name fields, or when a maintenance issue made a specific room temporarily unsellable, the front desk manager could flag the booking as tentative, pending verification, which removed that room from the live inventory count, visible to outside channels until the issue was resolved. It was an inventory management tool. It was supposed to be used a few times a week, on legitimate exceptions, and cleared within 24 hours. Authority over that flag, at the Cresthaven property, belonged exclusively to Latanya Whitfield and her 2 assistant managers. The 2 assistant managers had been instructed by Latanya to defer all flag applications to her. The corporate audit team reviewed inventory anomalies on a quarterly basis, but their review was aggregate, not transactional. They looked at occupancy rates against forecast, not at individual flag applications. No one above the property level was watching the flag log on a daily basis. No one was watching it on a weekly basis. No one, in fact, had ever pulled the flag log report for the Cresthaven property since the system had been installed in 2017. Guests trusted that the room they had booked, that they had paid for in advance, that they had a printed confirmation email for in their phone, would be available when they arrived. That trust is the entire foundation of the hospitality industry. You hand a stranger your credit card 3 months before your trip, and you trust that, when you arrive at the front desk with 3 exhausted children and a car full of beach gear, the room will be there. For 3 years, at the Cresthaven beachfront resort, that trust was a weapon. The first incident, according to the audit reconstruction that would later be performed, occurred on the Friday afternoon of Memorial Day weekend in 2020. The country was beginning to reopen. Florida had lifted its lodging restrictions 4 weeks earlier. The Cresthaven property was running at 94% occupancy that weekend, the first time it had broken 90% in over 2 months, and the walk-up rate on the last remaining ocean view rooms had climbed to $389 a night. At 2:14 in the afternoon, Latanya Whitfield, logged in at the front desk supervisor terminal, applied the tentative pending verification flag to a reservation under the name Patterson, a family of 4 arriving from Birmingham, Alabama, who had booked 3 nights at an advance purchase rate of $212 per night, paid in full at the time of booking. The flag removed the Patterson's room from the live inventory count. At 2:31 that same afternoon, the room was resold to a walk-up family from Mobile at $389 a night, cash on the card, no advance discount. When the Patterson family arrived at 4:52 that afternoon, Latanya was at the front desk personally. She told them, with apparent regret, that there had been a system error and their reservation could not be honored. She told them that the property was fully sold out and that she had been unable to reach them earlier because the phone number on file appeared to be incorrect. She told them that company policy required her to charge the no-show penalty on the original booking, which was equal to 1 night's stay plus tax. She told them she was very sorry. She told them that there was a Comfort Inn 6 miles inland that might still have availability. She handed Mr. Patterson a printed receipt for a $112 penalty charge and a printed map. The Patterson family left. They did not file a corporate complaint. They had 2 children under the age of 7. They had driven 5 hours. They were exhausted, and they spent the next 90 minutes calling every hotel within 20 miles before finding a room at a Days Inn off the highway. They got home on Monday. The husband called the property once and was routed to Latanya, who apologized again and refunded $60 of the penalty as a goodwill gesture. He accepted it. He did not file with corporate. He did not file with the booking platform. He told his wife it was not worth the time. That was the template. Over the next 36 months, Latanya Whitfield applied the tentative, pending verification flag to peak period reservations with escalating regularity. In 2020, the system logs would later show she applied the flag 143 times. In 2021, 281 times. In 2022, 317 times. In the first 10 weeks of 2023, before the catalyst, she applied it 91 times. The flag was applied almost exclusively to reservations falling on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights during peak season weekends. It was applied almost exclusively to advance purchase reservations that had paid the lower booking rate. It was applied almost exclusively from her own user credential. And in the overwhelming majority of cases, the room was resold within the same business day at a walk-up rate that exceeded the original booking rate by an average of $147 per night. The revenue arithmetic was straightforward. On a typical peak weekend, she would flag 15 to 20 rooms across the Friday and Saturday arrivals. She would collect a no-show penalty of approximately $150 per flagged booking, which the system applied automatically and which routed into the property's penalty fee revenue line. She would then resell those rooms at peak walk-up rates, generating duplicate revenue on the same physical inventory. The penalty fees alone, over the 3-year window, totaled roughly $412,000. The duplicate occupancy revenue, the second sale on the same physical room, totaled roughly $1,180,000. Together, approximately $1,600,000 in fraudulent revenue. Latanya did not pocket the revenue directly. She did not need to. The fraudulent revenue inflated the property's monthly performance numbers, which inflated her quarterly bonus, which was tied to property revenue per available room. Her bonuses, which had been running between $4,000 and $7,000 per quarter in 2018 and 2019, climbed to $9,000, then $12,000, then $16,000 per quarter from 2021 onward. Over 3 years, the bonus differential alone added approximately $140,000 to her personal income, on top of her base salary. The Whitfield household finances shifted accordingly. In the summer of 2021, the family bought a 2021 Chevrolet Tahoe LT in dark cherry metallic, financed for 60 months. In early 2022, they remodeled the kitchen of their Cresthaven home, replacing laminate countertops with quartz, installing a stainless steel range and a new tile backsplash. Total cost approximately $28,000, paid in cash from savings. In the summer of 2022, the family took a 1-week Caribbean cruise out of Port Canaveral, ocean view balcony stateroom for approximately $11,000 all in. None of these expenses, on their face, were beyond the reach of a household with 2 income earners, a sergeant's salary and a hotel manager's salary, and they did not raise flags. The bonuses themselves were paid through legitimate payroll channels. There was no laundering. There was no cash to hide. The fraud lived inside the hotel's own revenue line, and it lived there for 3 years because no one was reading the flag log. The Reyes family arrived at the Cresthaven beachfront resort at 3:47 in the afternoon on Friday, March 17th, 2023, the second Friday of the Atlanta Public Schools spring break. Daniel Reyes, 41 years old, his wife Marisol, 39, their 3 children, Sebastian, aged 10, Camilla, aged 7, and Joaquin, aged 4. They had driven 11 hours from their home in the Brookhaven neighborhood of Atlanta, leaving at 4:30 that morning, stopping twice for gas, once for lunch at a Cracker Barrel outside Tallahassee, and arriving on the Cresthaven property with 3 children in various states of tired, hungry, and ready to be in a pool. Daniel Reyes was a civil litigation attorney with a mid-sized Atlanta firm. He had booked the room 104 days in advance, an ocean view king with a sleeper sofa, 4 nights, advance purchase non-refundable rate, paid in full at the time of booking. Total of $2,468, including taxes and resort fees. His confirmation email was open on his phone as he walked up to the front desk. Latanya Whitfield was at the front desk. She had been at the front desk since 2 p.m. specifically. She had flagged 11 reservations that afternoon, including the Reyes booking, which she had marked tentative pending verification at 1:34 p.m. Approximately 2 hours and 13 minutes before the family walked through the lobby doors. The room, an ocean view king on the 7th floor of the South Tower, had been resold at 2:08 p.m. to a couple from Charlotte at $395 a night. The exchange at the front desk lasted approximately 7 minutes. Latanya delivered the script she had delivered hundreds of times. There had been a system error. The reservation could not be honored. The property was fully sold out. She had attempted to reach the family by phone. The number on file appeared to be incorrect. Company policy required her to charge the no-show penalty. She was very sorry. There was a Comfort Inn 6 miles inland. There was a Holiday Inn Express 12 miles inland. There was a Best Western near the interstate. Daniel Reyes did not raise his voice. He did not make a scene in the lobby. He thanked Latanya for the information, asked her for her full name and her title, asked her for the property's corporate complaint line, asked her for the booking reference numbers for the original reservation and for the penalty charge, asked her for a printed copy of every document she could produce, and then walked his family back out to the Tahoe and drove inland. They found a 2-room suite at a Hampton Inn 23 miles from the beach at 9:14 that night after calling 41 hotels. What Latanya Whitfield did not know at 4:02 p.m. on March 17, 2023, was that the man she had just turned away spent the next 48 hours doing what civil litigators are trained to do. He documented. He photographed every document, every receipt, every confirmation, every screenshot of the booking platform showing the property as, quote, fully sold out, end quote, at the time of the alleged system error. He recorded a voice memo, while it was fresh, of the entire exchange at the front desk. He requested, through the booking platform, a full transaction history of his reservation, including any administrative flags applied. He drafted 4 separate complaints in parallel. The first complaint went to the Sunhaven Hospitality Group Corporate Guest Services line, filed by email at 11:47 p.m. on Friday night, with 17 attachments and a specific request for an investigation into the property's no-show practices. The second went to the booking platform on which he had made the original reservation, filed at 1:02 a.m. Saturday, requesting a full chargeback and an investigation. The third was filed Sunday morning, March 19th at 9:12 a.m. with the Florida Attorney General's Office under the state's Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Statute. The fourth was filed with the Better Business Bureau at 10:34 a.m. Sunday morning. By noon on Sunday, less than 48 hours after the Reyes family had stood in the lobby, 4 separate institutional complaints were sitting in 4 different queues. We are about to get into the audit, and the part where the system she trusted to hide the scheme starts talking back. If you have made it this far, you already know this channel covers these stories in a way mainstream coverage does not. Subscribe right now if you have not yet. We post a new case every single week, and the next one I have lined up is even harder to watch than this one. Sunhaven Hospitality Group's corporate guest services team flagged the Reyes complaint for escalation on Monday morning, March 20th. Primarily because of the volume and specificity of the attachments. By Tuesday afternoon, the complaint had been forwarded to corporate audit. By Wednesday morning, March 22nd, the corporate audit team had submitted a formal request to InPath for a full transactional log of every administrative flag application made on the Cresthaven beachfront resort property between January 1st, 2020 and March 20th, 2023. The log arrived as a comma-separated file with approximately 832,000 line entries. The auditors filtered it on the tentative, pending verification flag column. The filter returned 832 events. The pattern, when laid out in a spreadsheet, did not require interpretation. 832 flag applications over 38 months. 791 of them applied by a single user credential, the credential belonging to Latanya J. Whitfield. 704 of them applied to reservations with arrival dates falling on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday during the property's designated peak season weekends. 683 of them followed within 4 hours by a same-room resale to a different guest at a higher rate. The average rate uplift on the resale, $147.12 per night. The corporate audit team flew 2 investigators and an outside forensic accountant to the property on Monday, March 27th. They interviewed 7 front desk employees over the following 4 days. The interviews were conducted off-property at a conference room rented inside a business center on the inland side of the highway, so that Latanya would not see her staff coming and going. 3 of the 7 employees independently described the same pattern. Latanya had instructed them, beginning sometime in 2020, that any tentative, pending verification flag was to be deferred to her personally. She had told them it was a corporate compliance matter. She had told them she was the only person at the property authorized to apply the flag. One night auditor, a young woman named Jalen Mercer, who had worked at the property for 2 years, told the investigators that she had once flagged a booking herself during a 3 a.m. shift when a credit card declined, and that Latanya had come into the office the next morning, asked her about it directly, and told her that flag applications were her responsibility and her responsibility only. Jalen Mercer told the investigators she had assumed it was a corporate policy she did not fully understand. The forensic accountant cross-referenced the 832 flag events against the property's complaint log, which Latanya had personally maintained. The complaint log showed approximately 112 guest complaints over the 3-year window related to no-show penalties, system errors, or unavailable reservations. Every single one of those complaints had been logged as resolved by Latanya herself, in most cases with a partial refund of between $40 and $120. None of them had been escalated to corporate guest services. None of them had been aggregated. The corporate guest services team had received fewer than a dozen complaints from the property in 3 years. The audit team identified approximately 900 unique guest reservations affected by the scheme. A formal notification process began the 2nd week of April. Letters went out from Sunhaven Corporate, in plain language, informing each affected guest that an internal investigation had identified a billing irregularity affecting their stay and that they were eligible for a full refund of any no-show penalty charged, plus reimbursement of any documented alternate lodging expense. The total restitution figure across 900 guests, calculated by the forensic accountant, exceeded $1,600,000. The smoking gun was not a document. It was not a text message. It was not a hidden bank account. The smoking gun was the in-path flag log itself, a complete time-stamped user-credentialed record of every keystroke Latanya Whitfield had used to suppress room inventory for 38 months. The system feature she had used to make rooms disappear from the live count had been silently recording her hand on every flag, every minute of every shift, for 3 years. She had used it because she believed no one was reading it. She was correct, until she chose the Reyes family. Text messages recovered from her personal phone, pulled under a state-level search warrant in early April, included a thread with her husband Andre from a Saturday afternoon in July 2022. The messages would not be central to the prosecution, but they would be part of the file. Latanya, July 9, 2022, 3:14 p.m. Busy day, 3 walk-ins paying $425. Should be a good bonus quarter. Andre, 3:18 p.m. That's good. We can put the cruise on the card and pay it off before October. Latanya, 3:19 p.m. Already planning to. Latanya, 3:42 p.m. Had to turn away a family from Tennessee. The mom was crying. I felt bad. Andre, 3:44 p.m. Not your fault. System is the system. Latanya, 3:44 p.m. Yeah. Andre would later tell investigators, through his own attorney, that he had no knowledge of the flag manipulation, that he had understood his wife's bonuses as performance-based compensation tied to legitimate revenue, and that he had no involvement in the scheme. The investigation did not develop evidence to contradict him. The confrontation took place at the Cresthaven beachfront resort on Thursday afternoon, March 14, 2024, at 2:34 p.m. in the executive office corridor behind the lobby. 2 detectives from the Cresthaven County Sheriff's Office, accompanied by an investigator from the Florida Attorney General's Economic Crimes Division and the property's incoming interim general manager, walked back through the lobby past the front desk to the office that Latanya had occupied for 6.5 years. She was at her desk reviewing the week's arrival report on her primary monitor. She had a coffee on a coaster next to her keyboard. a framed photograph of her children on the credenza behind her, and a printed occupancy forecast on the corner of the desk. She looked up when the detectives entered. She did not stand. Lead Detective Renata Halverson identified herself. She told Latanya that the sheriff's office had a warrant for her arrest on charges of theft, scheme to defraud, and deceptive and unfair trade practices, all under Florida statute, and that she needed to step away from the computer. Latanya: "Can I call my husband?" Detective Halverson: "You can make a call from the station once we get there. Right now, I need you to step away from the desk." Latanya: "I don't understand what this is about." Detective Halverson: "I think you do, ma'am. Please stand up and step away from the computer." Latanya: "Is this about the Reyes family?" Detective Halverson did not answer the question. She would later write in her report that this was the moment she knew the case would not require a confession to convict. Latanya stood up, walked around the desk, placed her hands behind her back when asked, and was handcuffed in the office. She was walked through the executive corridor and out through a service door at the back of the property, not through the lobby. Her car remained in the employee parking lot for 2 days before her husband retrieved it. She was processed at the Cresthaven County Jail on Highway 98 at 4:11 p.m. that afternoon. She was fingerprinted, photographed, and held overnight pending a bond hearing the next morning. She did not speak to investigators that night. She invoked her right to counsel at 4:48 p.m. and was placed in a holding cell with 2 other women, one of whom recognized her from the Cresthaven Walmart and asked her if everything was all right. She said it was a misunderstanding. She did not sleep. Latanya Janelle Whitfield was formally charged on Friday morning, March 15, 2024, in Cresthaven County Circuit Court. The charging document, signed by an assistant state attorney named Vivian Calloway, listed 3 counts. Count 1, theft under Florida Statutes, Section 812. 014, aggregated first-degree felony due to the cumulative value exceeding $100,000. Count 2, scheme to defraud under Florida Statutes, Section 8117. 034, also a first-degree felony. Count 3, deceptive and unfair trade practices under Florida Statutes, Chapter 501, charged as a pattern of conduct. Bond was set at $250,000 at the initial appearance hearing on Friday afternoon. Her family posted 10% through a bondsman by Friday evening. She was released from the Cresthaven County Jail at 9:14 p.m. that night into her husband's car with an ankle monitor and a court order prohibiting her from entering the property of the Cresthaven beachfront resort or contacting any current employee of Sunhaven Hospitality Group. Her defense attorney, a Pensacola-based criminal defense lawyer named Curtis Holloway, filed a notice of appearance the following Monday. He has told local press that his client maintains her innocence, that the flag log will be challenged as misinterpreted by investigators, and that the case rests on inferences from system data rather than direct evidence of intent. He has declined to elaborate. The state attorney's office has declined to comment beyond the charging document. The case is pending. A pretrial conference is scheduled in the early summer. No trial date has been set. 3 of the affected families, including the Reyes family, have filed civil actions against both Latanya Whitfield personally and Sunhaven Hospitality Group corporately. Sunhaven has stated publicly that it intends to fully reimburse all affected guests and has cooperated fully with the criminal investigation. The Cresthaven Beachfront Resort has retained its license and remains open under interim management. Latanya Whitfield is 43 years old. She is married. She has 2 children, ages 15 and 12. She has not worked in hospitality since the afternoon of March 14, 2024. She wears the ankle monitor under a long pant leg when she leaves her house, which she does mostly to drive her daughter to school in the morning and to attend appointments with her attorney. The Tahoe is still in the driveway. The remodeled kitchen is still the kitchen she cooks dinner in. The flag log, 832 time-stamped entries on a comma-separated file, sits in the discovery folder on the state attorney's server, waiting for the trial that will or will not happen. 900 families. 3 years. $1,600,000. and one attorney from Atlanta who refused to absorb the loss and drive home quietly. This case was infuriating. But the case on the right-hand side is even harder to swallow. Click it now.